Hey guys, hi, Bryson here. Welcome to my show. And today we're going to answer the all-time question. Should you get a joint bank account or should you not get one? By the way, this video is by Kevin O'Reilly and it's actually by CNBC. And I wonder what the answer is, because this guy right here has basically been with his wife for the past like 15 to 20 years. So do they have a joint account or do not have a joint account? And by the way, before you watch this video, comment down below and let me know what is your opinion on that issue, okay? By the way, I think that, hey, I wouldn't just rely on a joint bank account. I'd probably get a prenup and a few other things, but a joint bank account, it does sound scary, very scary sometimes, to be honest with you. However, if you're gonna be marrying a person for a long term, I also understand why you would actually want one, okay? So comment down below and let me know. And by the way, I post videos on this channel every single day, so make sure to also search it down, hit the bell so you're notified every time I post a new video, and on top of that, also destroy the like button. Now, without further ado, let's see exactly what Kevin O'Reilly says about joint bank accounts.
Never merge all of your assets into your significant other's account. Really bad idea.
Yeah. I hear this story all the time, people say like, hey, it's okay, get a joint bank account and you guys are okay, you guys are happy. But the idea of like putting all your assets into one basket without knowing what is going to happen. By the way, I've seen couples that are very happily married and then one person might have, for example, a gambling problem, take all the money out, and next you know all the money is gone. Or for example, that person might get angry and next you know all the money is gone also. I want to know exactly how he dealt with it because basically he's been married for 15 to 20 years. So obviously he has a lot more experience than I do because basically I've been in a relationship for like 4 years or so, but I haven't been married for 15 to 20 years. That's completely different. Here's why it's crazy to get a joint bank account. So he disagrees with it very heavily.
Here's the methodology for marriage when it comes to bank accounts. Each person has their own, and then you create a joint account together. You fund the joint account for just enough to maintain your living expenses and your lifestyle.
Okay, so this sounds like a methodologically, I can't say that word, but it sounds like a method to actually do both. So have like your own bank accounts and then have a joint bank account that actually funds all the living expenses. And that way your money is separate and everything's separate in a sense, right? But in reality, you guys are together because you guys do live together. And Dave Ramsey talks about it all the time, like, hey, when you're together in a couple, you want to make sure you basically take out all the debt basically, and that way you guys are both good because basically you're on the same boat. But at the end of the day, guys, to be honest with you, I'm not really a big fan of a joint bank account, but I am a big fan of basically being on the same page when it comes to finances, because if you're not on the same page, well, usually that ends in a divorce. So overall, I'd probably have, for example, a fixed budget and how everything is going to be spent and we can both agree on everything. You know what I mean?
And all the things you have to buy together, the rent in your place, for example, or the mortgage if you buy a home. But that personal account is in your name and it remains that way for the rest of your life. Do you know why? That's how you build and maintain and improve a credit score. You've got to have your own financial identity.
Is that true? I'm not even 100% sure if that's true. I feel like, let's be honest here, guys. I feel like that's a very sneaky way of trying to basically justify not having a joint bank account. And I can tell that, for example, a partner might actually see it that way. Like, no, you don't really need to do that, okay? What's the big deal with that? The answer is, if you guys are both working, I agree with the idea of having, for example, separate bank accounts and then having one joint one that takes care of all the bills that you guys are paying for together. That way, if anything does go down or everything happens, and by the way, if you're not married and you have a joint account, that's like the most dangerous thing ever, okay? It's even more dangerous. That's the point here, okay? By the way, when you get married, comment down below, will you get a prenup or will you not get a prenup? I know this show is turned into like life advice, and that's kind of what I want it to be. But the answer is comment down below, let me know. I think the idea of like having it this way, like two separate ones and also a joint one, is actually pretty cool. But also having an overall budget of how exactly our financial page is actually going to be on. Because you always have to think about, for example, investments, which you guys are going to invest your money into, and all that stuff. You're going to do it with your partner.
The only way you can get your own credit score is to maintain your own account, your own credit card. And that's very important. When people get married, they forget that. You never want to let the credit score that you get accrued to come from your significant other.
Okay, in case they make a mistake. There it is right there. In case they make a mistake. And that's what I'm trying to say, guys, okay? The idea is that, for example, whenever you have, for example, a credit card and you also have an authorized user, I'm not sure if the missed payments actually translate to your credit score. Actually, it does, okay? So if they actually have a liability on your credit, then in actuality, it becomes your liability because basically they have your credit card, okay? That's the answer. So the idea of like having somebody share everything, all of your assets, I get why this would actually be a bad idea. So you want to keep things separate, and that way you guys are both on the same page, but you don't share all of that liability. So I understand it from that perspective right there.
In case they make a mistake. You always want to have your own for your whole life, and that means you have to maintain your own account and your own credit card.
Yeah, I agree.
You can always have a joint card, you can always have a joint account, but you need to maintain your own financial identity forever.
I feel like everything he says is like just like so direct and also so absolute. But guys, that's about it, and that is the end of this video. Very short, unlike the 17-minute videos I've been making like usually on this channel. But comment down below and let me know, do you guys like the short format or also the long format? Comment down below, let me know. If you ask me, I like both, okay? And the answer is I might make both. That way sometimes some videos actually require a lot more time, sometimes they require a lot more or less time, but in actuality they contain a lot of life lessons that you actually need a ton. For example, this video right here. Overall, as you guys know, currently, if you don't know, I'm still not married, and I'm not gonna marry for at least like a few more years or so. I think it might be like 1-2 more years, but the answer is, you know, when I do get married, this does not sound like a bad idea. You know, for example, if my wife has a job and I also have a job and we work together, but we also have similar bills, I see the point of like basically having, for example, we have separate accounts, right? But then we also have a joint account that comes together. And with that joint account, basically, we manage all the day-to-day expenses that we actually share together. I think that's a great idea, actually. And for example, having credit cards, and also having credit cards actually joined, that's actually a pretty good idea also, because that way we can use those credit cards for specific expenses. But what I do not want to be, or want to be a part of, is, for example, those couples on Cheapskates. You ever seen that show? Those couples on Cheapskates that basically, if the couple spends $1 or $2, you're like calling them like, hey, why are you spending that money, huh? You can't do that. That's not cool. I think everyone needs like some sort of financial independence in a sense. I think that's kind of like babysitting. That's like the last thing you actually want for a partner. It's actually very miserable if you ask me. So overall, I think the best idea when it comes to like joint bank accounts, from my perspective right now, currently, is basically have separate ones, like Kevin says, and then one joint one to cover everything, but also have an overall budget to come together and say like, hey, here is our investment outlook, here is our spending outlook, and here's exactly what we should be doing. Because overall, you might have, for example, a joint account, but also separate accounts, but you also want to have an investment account, a savings account, a gold account, a vacation account, you know. So it's kind of like all about making sure you have a budget and a general idea of being on the same page. If you're not on the same page, usually, again, that leads to divorce. And again, divorce rate in America is 50%, which is crazy if you ask me. As always, guys, if you guys enjoyed this video right here, comment down below and let me know, what did you guys think about this video, and what do you think about the concept of having a joint bank account, and would you get a joint bank account if you were not married? I've heard stories, man. I've heard stories. Trust me, I've heard a lot of them. Comment down below, let me know. And as always, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. On top of that, also follow me on Instagram, Bryson. And before I go, if you want to watch another video on Kevin O'Reilly, again, about basically where to go on the first date and how much money to spend, here it is right here. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace.